Okay, so we are beginning now. So before we get into the game, we should probably go around and each uh, introduce ourselves as what we want to be referred to as. Because I only know everyone by your screen names, and maybe you want to go by that, or maybe you want to go by something else. Um, and just give a brief description of your gaming experience, I guess. Um,
Who do you want to go first?
well, let's start with you, the master.
All right. Well, You can call me Blair. That's my real name.
Okay.
I have been playing games pretty much my whole life. I I have a $1,700 gaming laptop. If that answers your question about how much I game, but I do tons of I love tabletop games. I love role playing games, like Dungeons and Dragons. I love video games. So I just do pretty much everything.
Cool. Um, so next, I'm looking at down the row. So Snark, you would be next.
All right, see, my order's different. It's got Bunny ahead of me.
Okay.
But anyway, um, let's see. I'm getting close to about 40 years old. I've been playing games since I could talk. Played the first tabletop game I played was the original D&D back in the day, and did a little bit of second edition. Really hit my stride after high school and getting into college when they released third edition,
Mm-hmm.
and got involved in RPGA, did some events there, and ran a lot. And then when fourth edition came out, my interest died just because it was garbage, at least in my opinion. And now I've started getting back into things. Done a little bit on Fantasy Grounds and Roll20 in terms of online, and D&D has been a big part of it. But I play everything. I'll play board games, everything from Risk and Axis and Allies to I hate Monopoly. But board games, going into video games, I currently play Destiny. I'm looking forward to Anthem. I work in the technology field. I built my gaming computer specifically for VR, so I play just about everything I can get my hands on.
Cool. And what should we refer to you as? Do you want to go by Snark?
Feel free to call me Az. That's what most people do. It's
Az?
short for Azrael.
Okay. So Blair and Az. Bunny.
Hey, I'm Bunny. I'm married to Az, and I'm actually almost 50, and I would consider myself a mom of gamers. I'm great at watching other people play games, but I am actually a clan leader of Monster Super League,
Mm-hmm.
and which is crazy. And I work in the IT. I work from home for a computer software company, so which my kids think is just totally crazy because I'm not that techie. And
That is really
I
cool.
and I play Stardew Valley on the side, well, all the time. And I love video games. I have a great Animal Crossing game. I can't wait till it comes out on the Switch. So have
That
the
will be
full.
really fun.
Yeah,
It'll be
so
fun.
I enjoy playing games with my husband and my kids. So, I'm terrible at Overcooked, but I'll play it. And, I really stink at Mario, but hey, I'll try. Um, so, you know, it's a way for us to bond together.
Cool. Cool. So you can call me Matt or Matthew, whichever you prefer. Um, uh, if
Strong.
I will answer to that. Um, it's an old nickname from high school. Long story.
I've known Strongbeard since 2010, I think.
Yes.
Right on.
Yes.
Yes. When we played a certain freeform play-by-post RPG and I
You
owe.
might not have heard of it.
Yeah.
You owe what?
I owe my entire circle of friends to how you shook up that game. So
That's true. Honestly, I mean, wasn't I the very first person? I was the first person that posted on your thread all those years ago.
I don't remember if you were the first person, but I know you were the first person to post an in character in the moment post.
Yeah.
Everyone,
was
because
Part of it all.
because before then it had been journal entries because it was a Dwarf Fortress, community fort, and everyone was making journal entries, and then the master goes and he's like, no, we have to play out this scene, and because of
Yes.
that, my entire internet circle of friends exists.
Yep. Actually, I remember because I snarkily like posted about some error you made in the OP, and
Oh,
I was
yeah.
like, it's actually this. And
Yeah,
then,
that sounds like you.
yeah,
We have identified the rules lawyer.
yeah, it was some form tag thing. Like he had broken the formatting on something. I think you left a spoiler field empty or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. But yeah, I really loved those days.
Hmm.
It was so much fun.
Yes. Anyway, so yeah, I've been gaming for how old am I? Let me think.
45.
No, I'm not that old. I'm only 20. I'll be 29 later this month.
Jeez.
But I've been gaming since I've been playing tabletop RPGs since I was about 17 and in high school, where I started with Dungeons and Dragons 3.5 or no 3.0, which I bought used at the bookstore, because
You do.
yeah, and then I ran
The best way to get the books.
yeah, and then I ran like terrible adventures for my best friend Bryce and my cousin Clayton, and I still remember the first session. I killed them all with an ogre, and they came back to roll up new characters. So I guess I did something right.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't throw an ogre against 3 level 1 characters. I learned that day.
You can't. It's just going to kill them.
Right, yes. Especially when it had a couple of goblins backing it up. Anyway.
That's awesome.
Yes. I think I've gotten much better in the GMing seat since then. I have run a lot. I kind of moved away from Dungeons and Dragons after a while. I played 3.0. I got into the whole like Roll20 everything thing. I ran Star Wars Saga Edition. I looked at D20 Modern and then never played it because I didn't really feel the modern setting. I did all that stuff. And then someone introduced me to Shadowrun, and my mind was completely blown by point-by character building and the freedom that it allowed. And I was like, I love this, but I don't love cyberpunk as much as I love fantasy. How can I make this work? And then I went and I found Hero, and I found GURPS, and I fell in love with GURPS, and I've been playing mostly GURPS for the past 10 years or so.
Right on.
But I play a lot of other stuff. The last like 2 or 3 years ago, I went through a period where I just started playing as many different RPGs as I could. And one of them that I came across that kind of sparked that is Dungeon World, which is what we're going to be playing today.
Tell me more about Dungeon World.
Yeah. Okay. So, Blair, I know you've both played a lot of 3.5, Pathfinder, those kind of games. Dungeon World is pretty different than that. Whereas those games tend to be very tactical, very sort of in the middle between gamist and simulation-y. Dungeon World is a bit more what I would refer to as fiction first. It's much more it's a little bit more narrative.
Storytelling, kind of like World of Darkness or something.
Well, I haven't played any World of Darkness, but if you were, it's not as narrative based as, say, Fate. If you're at all familiar with Fate, but it's maybe somewhere between that, but with a very very distinct Dungeons and Dragons aesthetic to it. Adam Koebel, who is one of the two writers of this game, has described it as Dungeons and Dragons as you remember playing it, but not as how it is actually played.
That's fair.
All right, that's an interesting, exciting description.
Yeah. Hold up there. I just did a quick search on it, and their listing on Google, the tagline is "Wave hands like a Muppet." I'm game for anything that has a reference like that.
Yeah. Before we get into like making characters and starting with all that, I would like to just take one moment to discuss sort of like the since this is going to be our first time gaming like in a live session like this together. Just sort of talk about what sort of expectations we have of tone and situation and things like that. First off, tone. As a GM, I don't tend to run silly or goofy games.
No.
I'm sorry. I obviously don't mind jokes at the table, out of character banter, humorous comments, references. That's all fine. But the actual in-game material, at least that which I am providing, will tend towards a more serious, but not so over the top serious. I'm not going all cancer and genocide on you, so don't worry about that.
Not yet.
Yeah, but like more. Yeah, it's more Lord of the Rings, less Monty Python.
I mean, that certain.
A little Monty Python is okay.
I mean, that certain fortress you had quite a bit of cancer and genocide closer to the end.
It did. It did, but that was also like 10 years ago.
It was 10 years ago. Also, I will say, you were like that too with the serious thing, even when in, you know what? Because I remember when we would goof around and roleplay, you would kind of like tone us down.
Yeah, well, you guys would go a little off the wall, so I had to.
It was fun.
I had to put a little bit of a leash on you there, but yeah. I don't want to stamp out your fun though, so yeah. In terms of situation, things will get dark at times, but I probably won't. But not to like a hopeless extent, if that makes sense.
Sure.
I like my player characters to face serious oppositions. That so it matters when they win.
No, that's cool.
In the realm of sex, if it happens in the game, there will be a fade out, PG-13 in terms of that if it happens.
There's a mom in the room. Do you really think that that's going to happen?
Well, I mean, if she's a mom, then she has, so...
Okay.
Well, I'm glad that you brought up the rating, because, Snark can... Anyway.
Right.
I'll try to keep them PG for you.
I'm a dirty son of a bitch.
Yes.
Will you stop?
In terms of
You have to
violence,
finish.
violence can push the rating a little higher. I'm fine with that. I probably will myself on the violence end, but yeah.
Make it grim dark. 40K.
I'm not going total grimdark. Maybe
Listen.
maybe Grimbright.
Since it's called Noble Bright.
Noble Bright. Yes.
Um,
No,
also-
not Noble Bright, because it's like an alignment chart, you know.
Oh, you're
Uh,
right. You know what? There is Grim Bright.
Yeah.
Last time we did something together, I didn't like Warhammer because I didn't understand it.
Mm-hmm.
Now I have about 30 painted figures, and a massive collection of scenery. So I'm pretty into Warhammer now.
Cool. Yeah. Let's see. In terms of the one last thing I want to talk about is PvP. I fully expect that player characters will disagree with each other and argue about what should be done and what needs to be done and things like that. The system does not really have mechanics that support player characters fighting each other. So if that happens, I will have to wing it. But also we should probably try to avoid outright player characters going to that extreme. But of
When are we
course,
splitting the party.
When
are we splitting the party?
you can split the party at any time. I'm
Okay.
only going to just if you're splitting for an extended period of time, someone's gonna have to make a new character.
All right.
So I'm not running 2 games at once.
That sounds fair.
It's an important question to
I just
ask.
Right.
Changed our microphone situation around. Can y'all hear us okay?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. That should help.
Okay. So all right, I have a Roll20 ready for this game. Right now, it's basically just got the basic moves. Excuse me there. It's just got the basic moves on like the front page. It does have Roll20. Roll20 does have Dungeon World character sheets, but upon looking at them, I didn't like them. They were not very helpful for the process of making characters. So I went online and I found some fillable character sheets, PDFs, that I will just send you the ones you need, and over Discord, and then you can send me a copy when we're done. It's okay. We can go ahead and start making characters now, I guess. First thing everyone needs to do is you need to choose a class. These classes are mostly classes you'll know from Dungeons & Dragons, although some of them are a little bit different. I'll give a brief rundown of them right now, and know that you are not allowed to have multiple characters with the same class. If you were the fighter, you are the fighter. Right. So
We have no class.
the options are in alphabetical order. Barbarian. Barbarian is a little bit different than like the D&D barbarian. If you're familiar with the D&D barbarian as like the rage monster, this is a little bit more Conan, a little bit more. You have you're a foreigner. You have some drive that compels you to adventure and to get into trouble. And it's kind of an unusual little class. Bard, very basic D&D bard. You have magic. You have some magic. You have healing abilities. You've got some social moves in there. You're the bard. Cleric, D&D bard, or cleric, D&D cleric. You have magic. You have easy access to healing spells. You have a god that you follow who grants you divine magic. Druid. I've never had someone do a druid. What do druids do? Yeah, druids are shapeshifters. They're less magical. They're less spellcasters than the D&D druid, and they're lean more heavily into the shapeshifting.
Interesting.
Fighter. As the fighter, you have a signature weapon. You were the best at doing damage and inflicting violence upon people, and you have a unique special weapon that's better than other weapons. The Immolator is a pyromancer. It's very specifically
Right on.
fire-based magic.
I like fire.
Mm-hmm. Paladin is
So does Bunny.
Paladin is, healing, divine warrior. The thing that makes them interesting is you have a move called Quest. If you dedicate yourself to a mission in a certain way, you get to choose. You state, I want to slay blank. I want to defend blank from blank. Discover the truth of blank, and then you get You choose two bonuses, such as an unwavering sense of direction to blank, invulnerability to blank, mark of divine authority, senses that pierce lies. You choose two of those from there's a list. And then the GM tells you what vow or vows are required in order to maintain those boons while on that quest. The Paladin is super broken and is the best class to play if you are a munchkin. But you can't really power game in Dungeon World, as you'll find out. But if you could, it would be the Paladin. Ranger, tracky, sneaky, shoot things with arrows.
Aragorn.
Yeah. No, because it's got like beast It's got like you've got a beast companion, an animal companion. So it's not really Aragorn. But yeah. Thief, backstab and pickpockets. And finally, of course, wizard. Wizard being, your D&D wizard with a spell book full of spells and different ways to cheat.
All right.
So, do any of those classes call out to any of you?
Yeah, Paladin.
All right.
Question on the druid: do they? How limited is the shapeshifting?
All right. Let me take a look at druid. Okay, so shapeshifting. I'll just read the move. When you call upon the spirits to change your shape, roll plus wisdom. All rolls in this system are 2d6, usually plus a stat, with a 10 plus being a full success, 7 to 9 being a partial success, and a 6 or less being a miss. So,
Success age into an animal. That sounds potentially devastating.
it could be, but it's not for how it's worded. So, on a 10 plus for this move, you roll plus your wisdom. On a 10 plus, you get 3 hold, which are just points to spend. On a 7 to 9, you get 2. And on a miss, you get 1, and the GM makes something bad happen.
Okay.
You may take on the physical form of any species whose essence you have studied, or who lives in your land. Oh yes, when you build a druid, you have to choose the terrain that you were a druid, that you are native to. So you get like the Great Forest, the Whispering Plains, the Vast Desert, the Stinking Mire, etc. You can take on any animal from your terrain. You and your possessions meld into a perfect copy of that species' form. You have any innate abilities and weaknesses of the form: claws, wings, gills, breathing water instead of air. You still use your normal stats, but some moves may be harder to trigger. A house cat will find it hard to do battle with an ogre.
Right.
The GM will also tell you one or more moves associated with your new form, and you spend one hold to make that move. Once you're out of hold, you return to your natural form. At any time, you may spend all of your hold and revert to your natural form. So basically you get it when you transform. You get to do, depending on your margin of success, you get to do that species like thing. So many times before you have to return to your normal form.
Okay. So it's limited more by what you're doing and less by time and size
Right.
and things like that. Okay.
Right. So if you if you turn into a cat and then you just laze around the town, then you can do that pretty much indefinitely. But once you start trying to use your cat form to accomplish things, like maybe you decide to stalk something.
Right. That makes more sense than with a story focus instead of being more on, all the mechanics and everything. I like that.
Yep.
So,
So are you thinking about Druid?
I'd be leaning more towards Druid, yeah.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and drop the Druid fillable PDF in the Discord channel then.
I named my character Magnus the Red. I wonder if you get that reference.
It sounds very generic, so I'm afraid I don't know.
Wow. It's a Warhammer. It's a Warhammer Primarch.
Okay.
That's why it sounded familiar.
Yeah.
It's you know Magnus the Red, right?
I'm not very into 40K. I only know the setting tangentially.
Oh. He's basically like the wizard of 40K. The evil wizard. Is the kind of the easiest, simplest way to put it.
Isn't he the leader of one of the factions?
Sorta. Yeah, he's the leader of the guys that go all as dust. I'm trying to remember. I think it's the Thousand Sons.
I only ever played as Tau.
You only ever played as disgusting long-range Tau. Filthy, disgusting, pathetic Tau that die the moment they get in melee range.
The race that has nothing but variant rules for its entirety.
The race that if you so much as poke them within physical range, they die because they can't handle melee combat at all.
Yeah, but you have to get past their technology first. But anyway.
Yeah, but if I charge you and I don't die, then you're fucked.
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, there was you had that one Commander Farsight who just picked up a sword and was like, "Fuck this," and started fighting in hand-to-hand combat. He was a badass. Anyway, this is a little bit off topic.
Yes.
What about you? She wants to play with fire.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll send over the immolator.
Okay. Were you gonna do it? I can do that now.
Bunny, you seem quite far away from the microphone. I can't quite hear you.
You need to lean in over here when you want to talk.
Switch my mic. I'm sorry. No, if you wanted to do fire, I can do something else, but I think that'd be cool.
Hello?
Hi.
So I think we have a
Had a technical difficulty.
okay.
Let me turn the volume on the mic up.
Yes, please.
Help too, because I'm trying to use one mic between the two of us so we don't have echo and blah blah blah.
I think it was better.
Okay, is
before,
that better?
But at least y'all can hear him.
Mm-hmm.
Is that better?
Yes. Yeah, I can hear you both better now.
Hold on one sec. I'm going to mute my mic for a moment.
Okay.
Okay, so yes, you want she wants to do fire unless somebody else wanted to do fire, and then she's willing to do something else. But otherwise, yes, she wants to set things on fire.
Okay. So Bunny, take the immolator there. I've put the fillable PDF in the thing. So,
Thank you.
I think we have, if I'm correct, we have a paladin, a druid, and an immolator.
That's what it sounds like.
Okay, cool. So if each of you will open up your character sheets, the second
And I'll load it up on your computer too.
the second thing that we need to decide about your character is the race. You'll see that on the right hand side. You'll probably have to scroll down a little bit. So some of them will have multiple options. Paladins can only be human. You'll see that the race you choose has a different move associated with it. So, for example, if you were an elven druid, it says the sap of the elder trees flows within you. In addition to any other attunements, the Great Forest is always considered your land. But if you're a human druid, as your people learn to bind animals to the field and farm, so too are you bound to them. You may always take the shape of any domesticated animal in addition to your normal options. And so on.
Let's see.
Magnus, you will see on the paladin sheet that unfortunately you have no choice but to play a human.
I did unfortunately see that.
Yes, but you do get the human move, which is when you pray for guidance, even for a moment, and ask what here is evil, I will tell you honestly.
I did something wrong. I'm sorry, I had technical difficulties.
We're trying to figure out how to get her the PDF because she didn't have Discord on her
I've got it.
computer.
Okay.
So she's trying to do it on an iPad.
Okay. I
want
hope
my
that
race
works.
To be a salamander.
I don't know that it's going to work, which is why I'm trying to get Discord on our computer. So bear with me.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, salamander. As a salamander, you are immune to heat and fire from non-magical sources. So it's very, very cool.
You can't be set on fire.
Yes, and I know player characters tend to always be setting things on fire, so this may, in my experience, this is true.
It's probably a fair assumption.
Oh, by the way, I do have work at around I think somewhere in the afternoon. So I just want to know, how long do you think the game will go tonight?
My plan is to the absolute cutoff is 11. If we get to 11, that'll have been 4 hours, and we'll wrap up at that point.
That's more than fine. Thank you.
Yeah.
I don't start work till 12:30 p.m.
Right.
So tomorrow, so it's not a big deal.
Right. Character creation shouldn't take us too terribly long, so my plan is to get through character creation and then drop you into some immediate action, get a little play for a little bit, and then kind of find out where we're going and wrap up for this week. And then play again next time. It's okay. So once you've chosen your race, if we follow by the book, they next tell you to choose your name and your look. you will see on each sheet under the name they have a list of names you could choose from. And under look, you can type in something there, or you can use one of the one from the drop down menu. So
well, I'm still working on it.
Okay. So Magnus, I know your name is Magnus. Magnus the Red. Have you decided on a look for Magnus? What's he look like?
I have a picture of Magnus already on hand because I'm gonna sort of base him off Magnus the Red, but before he was red.
Okay.
Because he became red when he became a demon. So give me a second. Is there a picture? So here we go. It's kind of hard to find pictures of him as a human, but this is basically what he looks like.
Okay.
I'm afraid I can't get a much better one than that because most people don't draw him as that.
All right.
Does that work?
That works for me. Yeah.
The only alternative I could really use is Magnus the Pious, who's an entirely unrelated character who happens to like share his name for some inexplicable reason. He's like the 100% opposite of Magnus the Red. It's really funny.
What kind of paladin you playing?
I guess a very angry one.
The best kind.
A very pissed off paladin. Okay, so run this through me one more time. So level is 1, right?
Yes. And you're going to start with 0 XP, of course.
And then body these are drop downs. Okay.
Yeah.
So he's fit. He does have a glowing eye. Fiery, I guess, is more like it. Would you say that's glowing or fire? And that's smoke. That's fire.
Yeah.
Also, your camera keeps trying to turn on, King.
Yeah, I tried having. I was going to have camera, but it doesn't.
I can put on my camera. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I don't know why.
I don't have a camera.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll just
turn. We don't have to use camera.
Yeah, I'll just turn it off because it's clearly not working.
All right, hair. I guess in the picture he sort of has a crown-ish thing. I guess a helmet. Holy symbol. Does this matter?
It matters in how your character looks and how we describe him and how people, react to him.
All right, armor.
We'll get to that. You'll have to choose gear in a little bit.
All right.
So
as far as where I am I good after now that I've picked out look?
Yes. Yeah. We'll if you'll hold on for a moment, we'll see about catching Az and Bunny up to where we are.
Well, I think I've got to. I went ahead and picked a halfling.
Cool.
Named Thorn, because I figured that was an acceptable name.
Yeah, that seems like a perfect name for a halfling.
Braided hair, wise-ish eyes, because he's paying more. He's probably a little more serious as far as halflings go. I don't know how halflings are in the setting, so I'm having to play guess there.
Well, as the only halfling, I will probably defer to you about what halflings are like.
That's fair. But so probably a little more serious than one would expect. Like not like Tolkien halfling, more like Eberron halfling.
Yeah. He is a druid after all, which seems a little bit more of a serious occupation to me than being a happy farmer halfling.
Right. But more, let's see, weathered hides for clothes because that's perfectly acceptable.
Of course.
Neutral alignment. That's about as far as I've gotten.
Okay. That's good. And Bunny.
Okay, I'm going with salamander, and body is ritual scars. Eyes are smoldering, and demeanor is barely hidden rage. And I hear myself. So sorry.
And name.
Yes.
Oh, it's Emberlash.
Emberlash. Oh, I like that. Emberlash. All right. So the next thing that we would do is we're going to choose stats. So you'll see on your right above where it's got strength, dexterity, constitution, you'll see assign these scores to your stats. And you'll see 16 plus 2, 15 plus 1, 13 plus 1, 12-9-8 minus 1. So that is the array of stats that you are going to use. And you can place them anywhere you like. If you the stats are more or less used as you would expect them to be from Dungeons & Dragons. Strength tends to be used when you are, hitting things in melee combat. Dex is used when you're shooting things with bows or trying to get out of the way. Constitution is used to be, to be tough and to, carry on through difficult situations. Intelligence is used to know about things, and spellcasting if you're a wizard. Wisdom is about noticing things, and spellcasting if you're a cleric. Shapeshifting if you're a druid.
Which one was that?
Wisdom.
Wisdom? Okay.
Yeah. So
where should I put these stats? I see the numbers, but I'm just kind of torn on where I should put them. Do you have any suggestions?
Okay. So as a paladin, let me take a quick look and see if at your moves. You'll probably want a high strength because you're going to be, I assume, smiting heretics.
Yes. That's the idea.
Yeah. You probably would not miss putting your 16 in strength to get that +2.
All right, and I put the 2 in the STR, right?
Yeah. It doesn't really matter as long as you know which is which, because this isn't gonna roll for you. So you have a 16, and that gives you a +2. The big number does matter in terms of when they roll over to the next level, or to the next modifier. Every time you level up, you'll get to increase one of your ability scores, not the modifier, but one of the scores by 1. If you get it to 18, that's +3. That's as high as it goes.
All right. So Constitution, I guess I'll put 13. Dexterity 15. What about Intelligence, Wisdom, and Charisma?
Well, charisma does get rolled for you when you use lay on hands. If you scroll down to your starting moves, you can see it right there. So you might, if you care about being able to, heal the wounded, you may particularly care about that. Otherwise, it is used in the basic move to parlay, which is when you have leverage over someone and you're trying to get them to do what you want. You roll plus charisma. Wisdom is used to whenever you study a situation or a person, and you can by rolling well on that, you can force me to truthfully answer questions from a list, such as what recently happened here, what is about to happen, what should I be on the lookout for, what here is useful or valuable to me, who's really in control here, what here is not as it appears to be. Intelligence, other than maybe trying to resist some strange effect or get through some sort of danger with quick thinking, the primary use that you will have, since you aren't a wizard, is the move Spout Lore, which is one of the basic moves. I should probably link everyone to the Roll20 so you can see the...
I guess my question is, do any of my moves require a good intelligence or wisdom?
None of your moves, I don't think. None of your starting moves do. Maybe some of the advanced moves?
We should find that out.
I'm just scrolling through them right now. Nope, it doesn't look like any of your class-specific abilities are keyed to either one of those.
All right.
So it's just the basic moves.
I'm torn between giving my Constitution or Charisma 13, and I would give the other 12. Which do you think is more important?
I would say your Constitution.
Okay.
Because you're probably, if you're ever trying to like defend someone or something, that's a Constitution roll.
You're probably more likely to want the extra modifier on a save for Constitution than you are for lay on hands.
That's true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Also, your Constitution factors into your hit points.
Right, I figured that.
Yeah.
All right, I think I got that squared away.
Okay.
No, you can put it however you want. You are probably going to want your 16 to be in your intelligence.
Actually, allow me to interject there. The Immolator is not so much a wizard as they are some sort of fire sorcerer,
like a pyrokinetic.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you look at their basic moves, or not their basic moves, sorry, their starting specific moves, you'll see that they have like two sort of, yeah. So if you can conjure a weapon of pure flame, which is a con roll. But you also can use your intelligence to
as your strength or dex in regards to making attacks with it.
Right. So okay, yeah, intelligence will be important for them. The con roll just determines the how good the weapon is. Also, you can use wisdom with the Zuko style move there to sort of pyrokinetically manipulate a flame from a distance.
Okay. It looks like my assigned scores are all fairly high. I mean, compared to Az's.
Well, yeah, I'm doing a little different. But what I put in there just as the array so far, I figured I'd throw 12 in strength, 15 in dex, 13 in constitution, 9 in intelligence, 16 in wisdom, and 8 in charisma.
Mhm.
Okay. They're actually okay.
And that seemed like a good way to go. But with more things being based on wisdom, I know I'm going to want that, and I know I want at least something in Constitution. Charisma is negligible for me, as it seems like intelligence kind of is, but I don't want intelligence to be my lowest one because I know we're probably going to be some other checks and things based on intelligence, so I don't want a negative there.
Mhm.
But otherwise, it seemed like that was kind of the way to go.
Yeah. That all sounds good to me.
Okay. Do
Um,
you want mine?
Yeah, go ahead and tell me what you're doing.
Okay. Strength is 16. Dexterity is 13. Constitution's 15. Intelligence is 12. Wisdom is 9. And charisma is 8.
Okay. That sounds fine to me. Okay.
I'm going to be right back. I'm just going to grab some water.
Okay.
You
No.
feel free to continue talking.
Okay. So, next, go ahead. Since we have your stats, you can figure out what your max hit points are. You use the Constitution stat, not the modifier. The whole stat. Plus a number based on your class. So Bunny, you have whatever your Constitution is.
Which was 15.
15 plus
Plus
4.
four.
So you're going to start with 19 hit points. And you'll notice that heart is divided in two, so you can have like your max on one half and your current total on the other.
Okay, thank you.
And so this druid, you'll see it's 6
So I'm
plus your
sitting
cons.
at 19, yeah, because I got a 13 in con, so we'll be at a 19.
Right. And when Magnus returns to us, we'll catch them up there. So choosing starting moves. Some of you may have choices to make about your starting moves. Let's see if any of them do. Okay, yes. So, Thorn, you were born of the soil. You will need to choose one of the following from that list under Born of the Soil, which is the land to which you were attuned. When shapeshifting, you may take the shape of any animal who might live in your land. So
Now, in terms of, is there like a list of animals, or do I just justify it?
we'll just have to discuss it and talk about it.
Oh, yeah.
Most of it, it's pretty, simple. If you pick the Great Forest, well, that obviously includes deer and wolves and bears and
I'm leaning. I'm
birds.
leaning more towards plains. I think everything from foxes and ferrets and skunks up to pumas and deer and not so many bears, but maybe a bison. Stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that sounds good. Whispering Plains. Just writing that down in my notes. Cool.
Badger.
Oh yeah.
Angry badger. Yep,
Oh.
that's just what we need.
That reminds me of one time I crippled I was playing a GURPS game and I had a wild badger attack someone when they like crit failed a survival check. They came across a badger nest and they got in a fight with the badger and the badger crippled their hand.
Badgers are nasty.
And they were a Stone Age archer.
Oh no!
And now and their hand got half torn off by a badger.
Now they're just a Stone Age.
Yeah, for a long time. Fortunately, the
That's fair.
the shaman of the tribe did have magic that could eventually fix it, but
Good on.
it was for a while they went from being a Stone Age archer to being to being a one-armed Stone Age. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, anyway, I'm back.
Welcome back. You'll need to choose to go ahead and set your maximum hit points. It's 10 plus your Constitution stat. The stat, not the modifier.
So 23.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
If you had a 13 Constitution, yeah, that would be 23. You guys all got a lot of hit points.
Yeah, that's a big
Especially
difference
for level
D&D.
1, yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Normal D&D, you have like 5.
yes, but those hit points will never go up.
What?
Unless you put your level up attribute into Constitution, in which case it would go up by 1. You know, so like if you raise your Constitution from a 13 to a 14, your hit points would go up by 1 as
This
well.
really is just like the feeling of Dungeons and Dragons without actually being it.
Indeed.
That really was a great description of it, honestly. What it was like, what you remember it being like.
Just
Right.
wave your hands like a Muppet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think you'll definitely get the feeling of that more once we start hitting the game itself. Paladin, you don't have any choices about your moves yet. We're gonna talk about your character in a little bit, and if you want to start already on a quest, we can fill in a quest thing for you. So you maybe want to be thinking about that. I'll have more questions for the characters in a little bit. Yeah, and it looks like the immolator. Yeah. I'm disappointed. Most of these, you all picked classes that were fairly light on the choices at level 1. It's disappointing. But very
I
well.
just picked what I
That just
liked.
makes it easier.
Yeah. Okay. So, if you haven't chosen an alignment yet, you should do so now.
Lawful, so I can be crazy to an extent.
So let's see. Yeah, lawful paladin. So, every alignment will have a little bit of text with it. At the end of a session, we will. One of the things we do at the end of the session is we check everyone against their alignment goal there. And if you succeeded at that, if you did the thing, then you get an experience point. This is just one of the ways you gain XP, but it is one you can get potentially every session. Some goals are easier than others, but it's only one of many routes for XP. So choose one you think is interesting, something you want to work towards, or how you want to play your character. So Magnus, as a lawful paladin, what is your thing?
I want to purge the heretics.
Mm-hmm. So it looks like it says deny mercy to a criminal or an unbeliever.
Yes.
All right. So if at the end of the session, I will ask Magnus, did you deny mercy to a criminal or an unbeliever in this session? And if you say yes, and can point to the example, then you will get an additional XP.
Oh, okay. That's
Mhm.
cool.
Yes.
So I
I'd
get
dig
to
that.
say no to helping someone that's bad.
Mm-hmm. And you'll be rewarded for it.
Great.
Mercy, my lord. No mercy.
Purge the heretic. That's how I'm gonna talk.
Oh god, this is gonna be fun.
Okay, so
You will pay for defiling this temple.
that is that's a unique voice for a paladin. I don't hate it. So Thorn, have you? I think you mentioned neutral before. Have you still going with that?
Yep. Or well, I don't know. I tend to be kind of. I usually just pick neutral because I don't like the labels, and I
Mhm.
tend to just do whatever. So I kind of maintain a natural balance. But it's always been playing D&D. I always went neutral just because I was bored of the. I didn't like the debate because sometimes I do things that are a little more evil, and sometimes I do things that are a little more good, and I just play it the way that I would be anyway.
Right.
But I tend to be, because good says help someone or something grow,
Mm-hmm.
and that's more along the lines of what I'd probably do anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And neutral is eliminate an unnatural menace, which I'd probably do that anyway.
Right.
But
It also is something that kind of
it's-
requires me to have provided you with an unnatural menace.
right, it
Which
has
of
to be
course
facilitated.
which of course I would try to do as often as possible, but you know.
Right. But since my natural inclination is to be, help people anyway,
Mhm.
and that's going to, I'm sure, be mirrored in how I play the character because I can't always play something going against my natural inclinations anyway. Depends on what kind of a mood I'm in, and unless I'm running the game, then that's a whole other, can of worms. But no, so I'll go for good in this case.
Okay. Cool. So Emberlash, the immolator.
I'm going for evil.
Okay. So why don't you tell the rest of our party what that gives you for your
God.
alignment there?
Well, I get to sacrifice an unwilling victim to the flames.
Yes. So any session that you manage to accomplish that, you will be during that session. At the end of that session, you will be rewarded with additional XP.
No, please, no. Yeah.
You're dead.
That
It kind of falls in line with the paladin.
I was actually thinking the same thing, because
we can work together on that.
yeah, if the paladin denies mercy and allows the immolator to immolate the heretic, everyone gets XP for that.
No mercy, Ember, take him out. That's great.
That's great. I love it. I love it. Okay, so the next is choose gear. That should be on the second page. For most of you, you'll see starting gear. So I'm just gonna look. I'm looking at the paladin right now. So you'll see that you start with dungeon rations, 5 uses, and you'll see you have the slots there to mark them off as you go. You start with scale armor, which gives you 2 armor. Armor in this system is damage reduction. So if I tell you you take, d6 damage, you'll roll a d6, subtract your armor from that, and that's how much you would take off.
So it's about my religious icon or whatever it's called.
Yeah, Mark of Faith.
My mark of faith. I worship the Emperor of Mankind.
All right.
So that and the symbol would be this. The two-headed Aquila symbolizes looking towards the future and blind towards the past. In a sort of what's the right word for it? Not learning from the past kind of way. It's complicated, but the Aquila is very symbolic.
Cool.
So should I just put down a golden two-headed Aquila?
Yeah, that'll be fine.
Okay.
And then you'll see you get to choose your weapon. You have the choice between a halberd, which is reach plus 1 damage, 2-handed, 2 weight, or a longsword and shield. So you will choose one of those, and then you will choose one of the additional packages there. So either adventuring gear or dungeon rations and healing potion.
Now, what is adventure gear?
Okay, now adventuring gear is you may or may not agree, but it is one of my favorite things about Dungeon World. So you know when you build a D&D character and you have to buy your equipment and you pull out that big ass list of mundane adventuring gear, and you have to buy your 30 feet of rope, your iron spikes, your mallet, your tent, your blah 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 blah.
Yes.
And that sucks, right? That's not fun.
Pretty boring.
Yeah. So
I actually have fun with that, but
as I said, your mileage may vary, but adventuring gear, you'll notice you have 5 uses of it. That's basically allows you to have a character who has planned ahead of time appropriately without you having to actually do that. When you come to a situation where you think to yourself, damn, I wish I had 30 feet of rope right now.
Guess what you do?
Yeah, you mark off a use of adventuring gear. So it would go down from 5 uses to 4 uses, and you will write down, I have 30 feet of rope. And then you will use that 30 feet of rope. So right now you have 5 abstract things.
I like things.
Yes, you have 5 things, or 5 sets of things. Basically you have the things you need to solve the first 5 problems that you come across. You could think of it that way almost. Which go from being abstract to being concrete when you use them. This has led to some silliness because I had a player in the other game I ran who kept using their adventuring gear to pull out oil lanterns to set things on fire. And at the end, we realized, were you just walking around with 4 oil lanterns and a bag and a box of matches the entire adventure?
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
And that's true, they were. Because they set like 4 different buildings on fire before they bought more adventure.
Brilliant.
Yes. They were playing a kobold, and yeah.
All right, I guess that makes sense if it's an insane kobold.
Yes. Yeah. So adventuring gear does that. Dungeon rations is of course a day's worth of food, and a healing potion is a healing potion. I would have to open the book to see like exactly how much it heals, but I think it like heals some amount of hit points and like removes a condition, I think.
Okay.
So the rest of you will have similar starting gear. Like Emberlash it says you carry no weapons and need no armor but the flames that burn within you, but you begin with a symbol of your sacrifice's past, and it asks you to describe it.
I have ritual scars. So with every kill, I add another scar.
All right.
How diabolical.
Just strike fear in my enemies.
Very nice. And then I see you start with adventuring gear and a healing potion, and you get to choose 2 from that 2 additional things from that last those three things listed there.
The dungeon rations and the 10 points.
Okay, cool. And Druid. Do Druids start with things? Do they have things? I guess you do have some things.
A couple things. One of the things I noticed is under the Born of the Soil, I have to pick a tell, some physical attribute that marks me.
Right.
And so I figure I'm gonna have some small, smallish. Well, I'm a halfling anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Some twisty like antelope horns.
Cool.
And then, but for the one of the things in the starting gear is a token of some token of your land. Describe it. I'm going to go with a mask made from the skull of a young lion.
Oh, that's
Poor
cool.
lion.
So, well, he might have died of natural causes. You never know. Probably did. I mean, I'm a druid, so.
That's
Does
what
death
you-
by a druid count as natural causes?
I'm thinking more along the lines of this is an animal that I had a kinship with in the past,
Mm-hmm.
and he perished at some point, and to carry his spirit along with me, I took his skull and cleaned it out and made a mask out of it, so that when I fight or do anything with wearing that, I fight alongside with him still.
I love it. That's great. So yes, you get to choose. You get to choose one from the defenses, one armament, and one of the additional
Well, then,
things.
let's see. I would imagine poultices and herbs would be for just herbal healing, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. I believe it is a step down from a healing potion in terms of how much it does, but it has multiple uses.
Right.
And there, the halfling pipeweed has a specific use. Let me just pull it up and see
I
what
was
it
kind of curious
does.
about that.
Yeah, okay. Halfling pipeweed. When you share halfling pipeweed with someone, you expend 2 uses of it, and you get +1 forward to parlay with them. So that would kind of make up for your less than stellar charisma.
Fair.
If you're planning on trying to convince someone of something, it won't get over the need for some sort of leverage, but it would give you a +1 on the roll,
Right.
if you share that with them first.
I think I'm just going to lean more towards the herbs.
Yeah. Let me see.
Seems like that could be potentially the most helpful, and would be something I'd be carrying anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Okay. So poultices and herbs. When you carefully treat someone's wounds with poultices and herbs, you heal them of 7 damage and expend a use.
All right.
This is opposed to a healing potion, which heals 10 damage and removes 1 debilitating condition.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, that'll come in handy. I'll go with that. So, hide armor, a spear, and some poultices and herbs.
Cool. Excellent. So, okay. At this point, I would just like everyone. We're about to do bonds, but before we do bonds, I would like everyone to introduce us to your character. Big picture. Just remind us who they are from what all we've talked about, and tell us a little bit about them. And I'm probably going to ask you some questions as we go.
Glory to the man emperor.
Oh no.
So Magnus. Were you going with Magnus the Red for that name, or just Magnus?
Probably just Magnus, since he's not red, is he?
Yeah. I mean, it could be metaphorical
Could
red.
be.
Blood of his enemies red.
You could paint him red.
You paint him red. Yes, every month he has to get repainted in red because it starts to chip off.
You could do it.
That'd be funny. Sure, Magnus the Red then.
Okay, Magnus the Red. So, Magnus the Red, you're a paladin. What does being a paladin mean to Magnus?
Let me think about that for a moment. Magnus, it means to ensure a greater world for my emperor and to purge the world of heretics It is my duty.
I see. What constitutes a heretic?
One who does not believe in the man emperor. The god emperor of mankind.
Oh shit, I'm a heretic.
Yes. How?
Anyone who does not renounce their hereticalness immediately will be slain.
So why is he traveling with a halfling and a salamander?
I have been assigned this holy mission by the... I'm trying to remember the name of the... I'm referencing Warhammer again. By the Inquisition themselves.
I see. So that brings us a good question. What has the Inquisition tasked Magnus to do? Is he off to slay something, or is he trying to recover some artifact?
I don't believe you need to know this.
I believe I absolutely do need to know this, but I can give you a moment to think about that.
Purge! Purge!
Getting purge?
Yes.
He really likes killing heretics.
Okay, so
You say your games aren't going to be crazy. I beg to differ.
I have crazy players. It's not my fault.
You had to be pretty crazy to start role-playing in a community fortress, ballooning to thread do almost 1,000 posts by the end of it.
It was more than 1,000, I'm sure.
Oh, probably. Probably 1,000 pages, I should say.
Yeah, that's more like it. And that's 1,000 like Bay 12 pages. If it were actually like compiled into book form, I think it was.
Well, you remember you guys tried. You really tried.
Yeah.
And then you just gave up.
Yeah, because everyone's signatures were pain in the ass and and all the
that was the big thing. When I was helping edit that, the signatures were the biggest annoyance.
Yeah. Telgan actually wrote a tool for doing that with the forum that we use now, though. You can export any thread in.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Telgan was a good guy.
Yeah. He's got a PhD in computer science now.
Holy shit! I think he was just regular in college last time I heard about him.
Yeah. Well, that was a long time ago.
It really was, honestly.
I had all my hair then.
No, don't say that. You have a strong beard.
Oh, I still have the beard. I just don't have it on the. I just don't have the hair on the top.
Don't make me nervous about my hair. I love my long hair.
So Thorn, I think I have a pretty good idea about Thorn, but why don't you just introduce us to him real quick?
All right. In terms of motivation, everything, I think I'm taking inspiration from my favorite setting is at least for D&D was Eberron, just because of the pervasive use of magic throughout daily life and everything. It was a very but anyway, I'm taking inspiration from the Talenta halflings, and that would essentially have been a member of more of a nomadic tribe, closer in relation to like Native American than anything else I can think of off the top of my head. And instead of being content with going along with whatever the tribe was doing and everything, decided to just, as more of a a personal quest, but also just because he was unsettled and kind of had a wanderlust come over him, decided that he was going to go out and he's driven by a desire to explore and hunt and see he enjoys and loves the thrill of a hunt, and and the successes and failures that result from a hunt, but is always interested in what's over the crest of the next hill. Not necessarily paying as much attention as to what's going on, but more curious as to what's going on over there. And so just in terms of motivation, he'd be curious as to what is going on with these other two ones, and in interest just in looking at and that kind of leads into bonds and things, but I think he'd be just a couple feet, a couple of feet tall, 3 feet tall, something like that. A little guy with horns and this mask, wearing hides, and looks like a little, at first glance would look like a kid dressed up like a dead animal.
Right. Like he's in his a Halloween equivalent costume.
Right, but then has a very maybe more quiet spoken, but depending on the situation, will actually potentially spout out some words of wisdom or something, but doesn't. Oh, I don't want to set anything in stone in terms of personality or anything, because anytime I play a character, it always evolves over the course of the adventure, and the interactions with it is more just as influenced by the personalities of the other members of the party as well. So I don't want to say anything to set myself in stone at this point, but that's essentially the background that I'm looking at.
All right. So you said he was like part of a nomadic tribe. His family they're still out there doing their thing somewhere.
Oh yeah, wandering around I'm in terms of a nature setting, the land he was from, I'm thinking more like, because it says Whispering Plains, I'm thinking like the plains of Africa.
Okay.
More than the plains of North America. But so yeah, they're out there hunting, etc. Potentially, I leave that open for whatever, because then you, as the one running the game, if you want to tie something in at some point, then I'll just leave that open.
Okay.
Nothing there is set in stone as far as I'm concerned. Just kind of a rough idea.
Okay. Yeah. That sounds good to me. So, Emberlash, tell us about yourself.
Well, basically, my family was slaughtered, and I'm on this quest to figure out who slaughtered them, and that's why I'm angry.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't trust.
Don't trust anybody?
No.
Mm-hmm. So
I'm going to sacrifice them all to the fire.
All right. So I have a few questions. That's very good. I have a few questions. So you say you don't know who is responsible, but I think that you have some sort of clue that you're following up on. Either a unique descriptor or
somebody said it was maybe somebody named Magnus the Red. I don't know.
Well, I was a young child when it happened, but it was very impressionable. So I've been training, and I'm hoping to learn along this journey and get more facts before I destroy my enemy.
Okay. Or you go on a murderous rampage.
That's right.
So, if she doesn't, if Emberlash doesn't know who's done this, does she have, how does she plan on eventually learning, who it was? Is there someone that she thinks might know something?
Well, she's hoping the people in this group, or the...
So you basically have no idea. You're just like, I'm just living life until I maybe find a clue.
Right.
Okay, I can work with that. All right. So, last thing, bonds. The adventure that we're going to begin is not the first time that the three of you have worked together. You don't need to like each other, but you are ostensibly allies.
Makes it easier than trying to bring everybody together.
Right. I'm not going to. You're already together. So you'll see. You'll have bonds there on your character sheet on the front page under alignment, and you'll have some blanks there that you can fill in with the names of your allies. When a particular bond, at the end of a session, we'll look at your bonds, and if one has been, quote, completely fulfilled or is no longer relevant, in other words, there's been some sort of change in the relationship, you'll gain an experience, and both you and the one who the bond is with agree about that. You mark it off, you get an experience point, and you write a new bond, either with that character or with someone else. So you'll see that you have some samples there. If I would like you to write an ally's name, in one of the at least one other person in the party's name down in one of the slots. No, you can do both allies' names, but at least one is required.
Let's see. All right, so what am I doing here?
Okay, so you're going to write in the blanks the name of, Thorn or Emberlash. So you might say, for like the Magnus might say, Thorn has stood by me in battle and can be trusted completely.
Okay.
Or I respect the beliefs of Emberlash, but hope they will someday see the true way.
Well, that would be both of them then.
Yeah.
Can I do both?
Sure. It's unorthodox, but I will allow it.
It cuts off for the last letter. I don't know if that matters.
Yeah, it's fine. We'll know who it means. So you're just gonna take that same bond with both of them?
Yes.
Okay. That's
actually, you know what? It makes much more sense for both of them to be under misguided behavior, because he doesn't approve of anything that isn't the Emperor's will.
Okay.
It makes sense.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Because to him, it does endanger their very soul.
Is he? You could break it up maybe if he's more tolerant of, say, the halflings than he is the salamander, or vice versa.
What are their beliefs again? So what do you guys believe in? What do you worship?
I don't.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't worship anything. It's simply that I revere the forces of nature, and that's the world that I live in. It's very, eat or be eaten, kill or be killed type of a situation. There may be a greater power, but I'm disinterested in it.
Yeah,
it doesn't affect my life.
Definitely misguided, both of you.
Okay then. That's fine with me. So Thorn, what do you think about your companions?
Well, I think Ember here, and I'll have to refer to her as Ember because her name's too long.
Okay.
That's one syllable too long. Name should be shortened to the point. Ember smells more like prey than a hunter.
Ooh.
And the spirits have spoken to me though of a great danger that follows Magnus.
Interesting.
Not so much the spirits, but just I have a feeling something. There's something chasing him that does not have friendly feelings.
The Tyranids. You
No.
know what those guys. You don't know what those are.
I do, but there will be no Tyranids in my game.
Why not? The Tyranids are awesome. We could have a Tyranid hive fleet attack the planet and start eating all biomatter on the entire planet.
Well,
water.
Well, that is a great idea. That is not a good idea.
It's a fantastic idea. All life on the planet is in danger.
Yeah,
What's a better quest than that?
The Tyranids are worse than the Swarm in Halo.
But that's exactly why they're awesome. I love the Tyranids. They're so much fun to fight. Strongbeard disagrees.
All right. So, Emberlash, what bonds have you chosen for your companions?
I will teach Magnus the true meaning of sacrifice. And I have cast something into the fire for Thorn and still owe them their due.
I see. Very interesting. So, Thorn, what did Ember cast into the fire for you?
Oh hell, I don't know. That almost sounds more like she has a chip on her shoulder where I'm concerned. Because is that what that's supposed to mean? Because it almost sounds like she owes me some comeuppance.
Yeah. I'm not quite sure what it means. Well, Emberlash, what does it mean to you? That's what's important.
You're picking it, so you come up with it.
Well, I'm still undecided. Right now, they're helping me out, so I owe them my respect. But I'm still not sure if they're involved with the murder of my peep. So I may, murder them in this.
So you're like paranoid. You suspect everybody.
This is true.
And because you have no proof.
Interesting. Okay.
Kill the heretics.
You're gonna die.
You're gonna die.
All right. So, all right, so, like, our characters are basically ready to go. Over the first session, I will probably ask you a lot of questions as we begin playing, and flesh out some things about your character. And I'm going to ask a lot of leading questions, just so you know. That's basically how Dungeon World tends to work. But I would like, since we've kind of finished up character creation right now, we're going to take, say, 10 minutes, take a 10-minute break, go get a drink, go to the restroom, whatever, and then we're going to come back, and we're going to start playing.
I've already gone through my first drink. What are you doing?
We'll go get another one.
Mas tequila?
Hard cider. The sweetest I could find.
Whatever works. Pick your poison.
I do.
Okay, so yeah, 10 minutes. We'll continue at 8:50.
All right, I'll be back.